Hello and welcome back to The Dive. I am Jat, joined by Kobe and Phreak.
It's me.
Yeah, Azale's out sick, so we get the go-to.
Third time saying it's me, so Jack pauses and waits, and I was like, I was gonna say it this time. Everybody's like, all right, I should say it.
Yeah, that's just the thing that you do. When we interview.
It's actually way more funny this time because we had 2 false starts.
Yeah.
And every time, Phreak is like, it's me.
He just wasn't excited the third time.
For some reason, third time's the charm, though.
Yeah, so before we run off for the holidays, All-Stars just completed. This is an episode we wanted to do last year, actually.
Yeah.
Azale pushed for it really hard this year, so thanks, man.
Yeah,
for getting us to do this year review episode.
Perfect.
But we wanted to do a year in review for 2018, which is a look back in the year that was, and also handing out a few awards like Most Outstanding Series, Biggest 1v9, the
KiWiKid Award.
KiWiKid Award, Dignitas vs. Renegade, like Worst Game of the Year award. But first, we are going to talk about a few larger topics of the year. And I know some of the big news coming into 2018 was the fact that the North American LCS franchised, right? We have 10 permanent partners. We got 4 new teams in the league. And we wanted to talk a little bit about just what that did to the scene, because now we have a moment in time where we can actually look back at a whole year at once. So, Kobe, let's start with you. Like, what jumped out to you about franchising this year?
What it did was it shot Steve with all his money to the top of Team Liquid there. It was like,
players.
Franchising? Time to buy a good-ass team and win.
Yeah, and he really did.
He did just that.
Yeah.
The other thing is the Academy League kind of went with franchising. I thought that was actually pretty successful. As we saw, Cloud9 brought up a bunch of people. There was a lot of movement between Academy teams as well as LCS teams. So I think that was a super big success as well. And that was one of the big things when we talked about franchising originally, that I was hoping was going to be more than just like, this lower tier league that people didn't really watch. It actually was useful, and people trained in there and made it all the way up in the first year.
Yep. Clutch's new bottom lane was from Academy, straight up, with Piglet and Vulcan. CLG's new jungler, straight up from Academy. They're keeping their whole 10-man roster idea as well, with a new, Academy jungler in Moon joining it underneath that. Cloud9, of course, most famously, brought in a top laner from Challenger, to be fair, but switched their roster back and forth between Academy, brought their Academy jungler into Worlds as well. Okay, that didn't go
furthest in Worlds that we've been
since 2011, if you count that, which I think you should.
I mean, tying the furthest that we've been is still the furthest we've been.
Yeah. No,
furthest we've been since the LCS began.
Yeah,
that's definitely true. And I mean, either way, obviously, by far the best Worlds for NA in the LCS era. Yeah, period.
And we're gonna get into awards later, but most successful new franchise.
100 Thieves, without a doubt.
The fact that they were in the finals in their very first split, 4th place in their second split, but that gave them enough points to qualify for Worlds, especially when you had teams like TSM and CLG just not make it to Worlds.
Yeah, there were teams that clearly won franchising, like Team Liquid is a good one. Cloud9 is one I put in there as well for obvious reasons, and 100 Thieves, I think, won franchising, and TSM and CLG lost franchising. Where yes, every team had to apply, and everyone had bigger budgets, and now players get moved around and whatnot. But TSM let go of probably the most famous player in NA, since Doublelift went on to win and Bjergsen went on to lose. Doublelift takes over the #1 spot, and CLG takes on a jungler who was not doing well last year, and for the first time ever misses playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
TSM for the first time misses finals. CLG misses playoffs. Those are not good runs for teams that have been there since the very first LCS, who were actually directly in. They didn't even have to qualify. They already got direct invites because they did so well in the 2012 Worlds qualifier.
And those are roster moves, and we're talking about how well the individual rosters did and the talent and all of that. But even more than that, I think the reason 100 Thieves, for sure, there's no contest as far as most successful new franchise, wasn't just that they had a good roster and the roster did well, right? Everything as well with the clothing line.
Oh, yeah.
I thought Nadeshot did an extremely good job as a fresh owner, with zero experience.
Their content series as well.
Of course, they had missteps, and there were a lot of missteps as we talked about. Multiple franchises had mistakes, as Phreak went over, and 100 Thieves also. The communication thing around, acquiring players, trading players. with a couple of them definitely need some improvement, but there's going to be some bumps along the way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the year as a whole,
Yeah.
it was still successful. And when you look towards 2019 with them bringing in Bang for their 80 carry spot, and Afro's longtime friend.
29. We'll get 2019 at the end of the show.
We'll say that as well for the end of the show or for 2019. But the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on in franchising was at the beginning of the year, and I think there is still some truth to this, because we had so many more orgs entering that were taking it seriously from the beginning and had the backing to make a splash. It did a lot of like talent dispersion in the league. Like when we're thinking about Cloud9 and Licorice, I do wonder in the back of my head, alternate universe, when TL doesn't get a bunch of new investors to apply to franchising and make the super team, they can't offer Impact the rumored $1 million a year, and Cloud9 actually decides to retain him. And then like maybe Licorice still wins the spot via the academy team, but he doesn't get the same level of opportunity. And then like what happens to Cloud9? Like there were so many cascading effects of TSM really wanting to make a splash because, well, it's franchising now, and we tried with Double Lift, and we're just going to spend a bunch of money to bring in.
I think that no matter what, Steve would have gotten a crazy team. I don't think the other teams, specific players going up or down or whatever would have happened. Steve was determined to make a first place team. If he hadn't gotten those exact players, he would have gotten some players.
He would have
would be that quality, right?
But I also
maybe they don't place exactly first, but I think that alone would have had some big changes.
Yeah, I just don't think we're going to have an off season like we did in 2018. 2019 off season was good.
Of course not. We can't.
But it's just because there was so much player movement, right?
Yeah.
And I do think there was a lot of learning along the way, like teams bringing, like everyone scattered. And I feel like player salaries went up hugely at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, lots of learnings on franchising.
I want to add my one final thought on franchising as well, which is like I would much rather, and I have this written down in like my prep doc, I'd rather have good owners than strong teams. So like if you go back to like the promotion relegation era where it's like, okay, Golden Guardians, they were a last place team, Clutch is a last place team, whatever. Those teams get relegated and like 5 people out of Challenger / solo queue come up. And yes, there's like the LCK Griffin case where that went well. But it's like, but who owns that random solo queue team? Well, I don't know, some guy who doesn't play his players on time, and okay, well now they're in the LC. But like Golden Guardians like don't want to be last forever. Like they went and signed a coach I respect a lot, a GM I respect a lot. They signed a bunch of players that are awesome. Like I love that Golden Guardians got to be cut the whole bunch and then make changes and still be Golden Guardians, an org that I respect, and that team will now be good as opposed to 5 solo queue players. Well, that will get turned around next year by someone else taking their spot.
Yeah, it takes away kind of one of the things about kind of the past, I guess, of esports, where you have a team that is successful and young new talent.
Yeah.
But every single time that happens, they have to go through this sometimes scary scenario of finding the big sponsor, finding the team or something like that. And there have been a lot of bad ones floating around, so kind of reduces that risk where the players will still make their way to the LCS, those good players, the new young talent, but it will be through getting picked up by these teams that are searching to try and improve on last year.
There's an easy litmus test on that, which is like, other than Cloud9, think of like an org from a while ago, like any solo queue team from the last 5 years that is still around. It's like, cool, we still have TSM and CLG and all those guys, and like Team Liquid is X-Curse and all that. Yeah. And then Cloud9 and Jack is great. And that's like the one exception to the rule of like a new org that actually made it stick.
Yeah, I think TSM probably was that with the way Reggie like refreshed the roster.
Well, I'm saying like of the CLG, like cut off like maybe the start of LCS like 2013. Like those, like a lot of those established teams made it, but all the new teams that came in, you think of like Teammate or Velocity or Marn, right? All those teams have collapsed, right? And like you just keep cycling those. Like that doesn't seem useful to me.
I mean, those rosters also didn't do very well.
I know, but like, those were the teams that were joining, right? Like that's the thing that was happening.
But I think that's enough of franchising because we also had the craziest worlds, I think, ever. North America, as we said, Cloud9 went further as far as we've ever gone. Europe made it to the finals. Korea got knocked out and like so early. This was an insane year.
Yeah, and looking at it from the NA LCS perspective, thank God for Cloud9.
Yeah,
Seriously,
as we say every year, as is tradition,
but more so than usual. Like,
Yeah.
if you remove the amazing run that Cloud9 had, you would just have the Team Liquid team
oh my
who
god,
who does go 3-3. Like, again, the double if team goes 3-3, like is customary.
Yes.
But in this case, there was a 5-1 and the 4-2 team above them, right? Because they went 1-1 against EDG and 0-2 against KT. And
so
then
you're putting it all on double lift. Huh?
And then I'm not putting it on. It's really close every single year.
Yeah.
And then you have 100 Thieves who ended up being in the group with the 2 teams that made it in the finals, but weren't even touching them.
Yeah, not
in
close.
the 4 games they lost. So like, if Cloud9 would have gone to expectations before the tournament, and split games with Vitality and then lost to Genji, the defending world champions, and lost to RNG, the pre-tournament favorites. Like, that's how crazy the group was. And they would have had no one out of groups. And it would have been this totally different story of, oh my God, like, NA sucks, right? But
2015
it's completely
Worlds.
different just because of what Cloud9
That's why some people were in tears.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who, but
I can't think of anyone. Yeah, I don't remember anyone being excited about that series by any means. But yeah, you're right. And you talked about splitting with Vitality. If Cloud9 went 1 with Vitality, Vitality goes forward. Yeah, like straight up. Like they don't even tie break. Like they just have better.
It was incredibly close to exactly what you're talking about, Jack. Where we're getting permaflame for a whole year. By everyone.
I mean, it's funny because MSI was kind of the same, where there was a Fnatic Liquid tiebreaker, and because the tiebreaker happened, even though Fnatic gets 3-0'd immediately right away afterwards, it was like the closest 3-0 ever. And it's like, oh, well, NA's a joke region. Look how much better EU is. Yeah, because you tie broke. Like, congrats.
Well, that stuff matters.
Of course it does. Like,
I sound a little salty.
I don't mean an assault, right? I don't mean an assault. In the same way that, like, hey, Europe beat us in the tiebreaker and had a better MSI. Yeah. Cool. There were 3 different segments where a single game difference by C9 means they're out in groups opposed to top 4.
Yeah.
And like, we get to be all happy about this Worlds performance where like exactly 1 game was between like sickest Worlds ever and the second worst disappointment ever.
Yeah.
1 game.
And exactly. It just shows you how swingy it can be. Like, even Fnatic's run to the finals, like in the games against IG on the final day when they 2-0'd them, like if that doesn't happen, they play KT in the quarters.
And I don't think they win that.
And who knows what happens there, right? Like, those single group stage games, looking back, have so much importance. And another Worlds point that I look back on, and you wonder how this is going to be remembered, like, we remember the tournament of solo lane superstars, and we forget that RNG was like a team fight away from semifinals with a total 80 carry run. Like, maybe they then lose in semifinals to IG, who knows, because G2 ended up taking them down. But I feel like that could have also just like changed our even fundamental understanding of the game if RNG continued to win, like they had been.
If RNG wins Worlds with Uzi, is it ADC 2019 lol? So I said 2017 because that was 2 years ago. ADC 2018 lol from Reddit, just like it is right now.
Yeah.
If Uzi just like 1v9s the rest of the tournament. Yeah.
All right. So NA Worlds was cool. Thank God for C9. It's time to move on to our 2018 Dade Awards.
Yay! We don't have confetti or anything.
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to do it. And the way this works is, I think I want YouTube and Reddit to be active in the comments if we've missed something. We've all came up with the awards.
Whoa. If we missed something, this is all just based off memory. Like, even if we
don't cut your credibility. You have an amazing memory, Kobe.
Yeah, Kobe. You remembered all this time that NA has never done well at Worlds.
I did remember the area code in Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, that's right. Scruff McGruff.
From a
Chicago, Illinois
TV show jingle, right?
That's true.
Yeah, they never showed that commercial in Canada, so I had no idea what you were talking about.
Anyways,
652.
Take us to the award.
Most outstanding series is the first one we want to talk about. So the best series you watched in 2018. That's the qualifier, is the one you watched.
All right, who's going first?
I'll go first. G2 RNG. Yeah. Quarters of Worlds.
I had 2 possible answers on my sheet here. That was the one I ended up highlighting, was G2 RNG.
What was the other one?
The other one was KTIG with the base race. But the reason I didn't put the KTIG one was because that was good. KT did end up losing, right? And it ended up being like I don't know. I got so built up during the base race, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's crazy! They won the base race!" And I'm like, "Wait a second, that only means they're still barely in this series," and then they ended up losing anyway. So I kind of had like a hollow feeling afterwards.
Okay.
But the G2 RNG one, because it actually finished in the huge upset, knocking out the tournament favorite
MSI champions.
LPL won everything this year. They're the ones expected, to dominate. They've got Uzi. They have the whole package, and it comes from G2, right?
Yeah.
These are not. This is not Fnatic. This is not the golden child of Europe. These are the bad boys,
and they just lost their bot lane like this year to TSM, right? Like this shouldn't have been a super team anymore.
Exactly, and the individual games where Perks. Okay, so the Akali one was when they were down 0-2 in the series, and Perks pulls out that Akali game.
I don't think they were ever
they
down
traded games back and
0-2.
forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they were down 2-1 at one point.
Okay, 2-1. Yeah. He pulls out that Akali game, and it's actually like a 1v9 performance.
Yeah.
That's so rare for a world stage.
So I remember saying on the NLCS the next day that the game 4 and 5 performance from Perks was
some of the best in world's history. Period.
The best in just the history of League to clinch in the final 2 games of a series. He
insane. It was actually insane.
Yeah, he was like 9-1-6 in the next game. He was like 11-0-7.
I wrote down all the KDAs actually because I had picked this game. So the game 4 and 5 KDAs for Perks was a combined 18-1-8. But it's funny, he gets all the accolades. Jankos went 7-1-16. He did almost as well from a KDA perspective. Like, and Hjarnar was 5-0-15. Like, there were some really big, and this is against Uzi, right? Like, this is pretty nuts just by him in the first place. But yeah, I mean, Perks did do the most of all of them, was really huge, and absolutely carried.
I like your also turning the topic to things like Hjarnar, right?
Yeah.
Because there were so many more things with G2. That's why I feel like there's so much packed into this situation for them at Worlds, and Hjarnar being completely flamed the entire time leading up to it, and him falling back on his Heimerdinger. Like, what is going on? It's not like everyone's spamming Heimerdinger anymore, right? It's not the mage bottom lane meta has continued on through Worlds, but for him it has, and he relied on what he was extremely good at, that and the Jhin, to take this huge upset.
Okay, so you both think the best series was
I do.
G2.
Yep.
Good brain.
Yep. Because I'm very big on results and like storyline, and the fact that was an upset.
Yeah, we'll wait for his answer, and then we'll.
I have a dark horse contender coming in at the 11th hour. The RNG Kingzone MSI final.
That's cool too.
Which was a 3-1. But this was also the tournament that we went into saying potentially Kingzone has the 5 best players at the tournament. At the time, that's what we were thinking. We're like, maybe Prey is the best AD carry. BDD is a god. Like, they're going to do everything with Peanut. Khan is unstoppable. And up until that point, like, Korea had won everything since 2015, right?
Yeah.
And the way that it ended, the game 4 ending, being such a close game into like the back-to-back team fights and just the sheer elation from RNG when they finally took down Korea, like that moment, as big as an upset as it was for G2 to take down RNG in that moment, like Korea falling to Uzi is way up there as far as like, best tournament experiences. So I was really close between KT, IG, like that day, IG taking down KT and G2 taking down RNG. Best day of the year.
That day for sure, yeah.
But I think to spice things up, I will go with RNG versus Kingzone MSI final as the best, most outstanding series.
Okay. I like that you're going out on that branch, because I was actually casting that series. And that was one of my favorite series that I have cast in quite a while, with Deficio and Quickshot. And during them, a lot of the team fights were absolutely insane. Rookie Aurelia, like using Q resets to get over walls within a team fight in the enemy jungle, and that actually being a determining factor. I was very skeptical at first
about the RNG King,
but I'll let it pass, chat.
Nice.
There's one extra point. There's one extra point about RNG Kingzone I actually really like, which is it's the first like important BO5 that the LPL had won against Korea without Korean imports. Because like you think back to EDG at MSI, it's like, okay, but like I think that was Deft and Pawn back then. It's like, that's nice, but like you've got Koreans in the team, so there's 7 Koreans. This is like, okay, yes, they brought over Karsa from the LMS, but like this is an all Mandarin speaking team that beat all Koreans.
Yeah. And
right.
you had a good point. Like we kind of take it for granted now, but that was the start of
beginning
the
year.
dominoes,
Yeah.
falling
Yeah.
that led up to this.
Then
year.
Rift,
All right.
then World.
All right.
Award number 2. This is a classic.
Of course it is.
Who is your Dade Award winner?
Yeah. So the Dade Award, for those of you who don't know, basically started back in 2013. It's the most hyped player to basically fall flat on their face at
Yeah.
World. So it's a balance of how hyped versus how flat he fell.
The belly flop award,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. I actually am very confident in my answer for this one.
Okay.
Really?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We're voting first, so go
Oh,
for it, Jen.
okay.
I had a hard time.
I will explain my process also because I think it's funnier than my choice.
Okay. Ruler.
Okay, that's all
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah. Ruler wins the Dade Award because when I look back at the top 20 players at Worlds, he was fifth in the top 20 players. He's also on the defending world champions. There was all the talk about how they qualified, of them now being this team that plays through the bottom lane, which Ruler's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the stats at the end of the tournament, of group stage 80 carries, the 16 of them,
Yep.
he had the second fewest kills, 9. Only Breeze from Mad had fewer. 51% kill participation, 0 first bloods, -5 CSD at 10. The one game where they almost beat RNG, he gets caught by a Scion ult in late game and they lose off of that. He, to me, is the clear Dade Award this year.
Yeah, I would say that a lot of the bad stats that you're mentioning is because their team was so ill-equipped for this meta. And the
Yep.
other guy I had on this list, while I do have Ruler on there, is Crown. Even though Crown not as hyped up as Ruler, so that's why I highlighted Ruler, and that was going to be my answer.
Right.
I thought Crown was much worse. And if you and it's
Much worse, but less hype. So it's like
much
the
worse,
weird-
exactly. So the Dade Award has 2 barriers on it,
Sure.
basically 2 boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think that he was worse, but also way less hype coming in because this year was not nearly as good for Crown
Okay.
as last year. And it's funny that both of them are, of course, Gen G, the defending world champions.
Yeah.
We expect a certain level that goes with that. Yet they got put into the group of death with Vitality and Cloud9.
Yeah. Wow. I know.
And I think that really also tells a good story for this year. But
Yeah.
I also went Ruler.
So for me, I actually it's weird because like in my notes, I'm like, wow, Gen G did so badly this year. And then I forgot about Ruler. Like I forgot about picking any Gen G player at all for the Dade Award.
Okay.
So
Okay.
my Dade Award is a bad choice. So Xiaohu is my front runner, Ming is my runner up. Because I felt like,
Ming?
yeah.
Huh.
So and this is like I said, my answers are not
Okay,
good.
okay.
I think any Gen G
Hold
player is a
on.
better option.
You gotta.
But here's
explain.
okay, but here's why. Here is why I still picked them of the players that my brain could think of last night when I was prepping this. So Xiaohu, first of all, was the number 1 player on RNG in terms of player of the game standings from LPL domestically. Like keep in mind, like IG actually smashed the domestic league, so like they have all the top. But every single player on RNG was top 3 in like all pro LPL. Every single starter was on there. Xiaohu was number 1 among that team. And we got into the series where like Perks is the reason they exited Worlds, and Xiaohu had like some really bad Galio games and was a basically non-factor. And we're saying this, I don't know how true it is, that like a meta that was about mid lane and about the solo lanes.
Right.
And it's because Xiaohu didn't step up and Perks crushed him. And I don't think
Yeah.
Xiaohu is worse than Perks. I would say he's arguably an overall better player, but was outperformed. And is arguably
you
the reason they
expected
lost.
him to be a better player
I
coming
at
into
least
the
expected
tournament.
him to be.
And
right?
then he was not even close in
Right.
the tournament. Yeah, I mean, when I was going through them, I thought maybe Xiaohu, right? But I realized part of
too
me,
good of a
I almost have to pull it from like a top 10 player, at least when I think
Yeah,
of the
the
history
first
of the
thing I
Dade
did
Award.
was go look at your top 20 list, and I was like, who's really high on this list?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a yikes.
There's a really funny thing that almost happened to Khan that we realized this year is the 4th ranked player is really close to being cursed in the history of
Ruler
this
was
award.
5, though.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
Ruler was 5. Khan was 4. And if Khan didn't have that last day of group stage plus like the smacking of liquor she did, even though they went 0-3, like he very well could have been, because we've had Clear Love ranked 4 in the past in 2016, I think, when he just had an awful Worlds. And I wish I remembered off the top of my head who did it in 2017. It's not as important, but fourth is usually just a bad spot.
See, I think you had decent reasoning and decent, things to back up. So you didn't have to.
But Ruler was such an easy win. I'm like, it is actually never anyone but Ruler.
That's right. You're not correct, but you don't have to dump on yourself.
You're right.
All right.
And then Mingo's my other one because he was the #1 All-Pro support from the LPL, and they failed to smash Hjarnan and Wood did. Like, I'm sorry, like there is a player difference there. Like I know EU fans are like really happy about how Hjarnan did, but like he's unemployed next year. Like no one from the LEC wants to play with Hjarnan. Like I don't mean that as like you're a bad person, but like there's 10 teams and a bunch of new rosters, and you did top 4 at Worlds, and no one wants you. Like,
well, part of the reason
I wouldn't say no one wants you, but there's a lot of competition in that role, and he doesn't
right?
stand out above a lot of the
and Ming failed to capitalize on a relatively weak lane. Coming in, this was the weakness of G2.
Part of how much everyone loves Hjarnan is because of the bar going in, right? It's because it's not expected that he crushes Uzi or something like that,
or it's even that close.
Or even that close, and yet he's able to have a huge impact. So I think,
and that was great.
That's part of the perspective, judging these things.
Yeah. All right. So next one is the 1v9 award.
Yes, sir.
This one is just the best 1v9 performance you can think of from games you watch.
I got 4. I have 4 answers.
I have 3.
All right, give me the best one. I've one.
Okay.
Because it's an award.
We did extra credit.
Kobe, your #1.
Where you want me to give me all mine?
No, give me your #1. Like, unless you need to spend time. If you need to spend time,
I think that we should go with the lowest count so that I don't take away his pick with my 4 spread. Because I guarantee his pick is within these 4.
Yeah, probably.
If it's not,
that's a good point.
So mine is, do you guys do an individual game?
Yeah.
Right? Like biggest individual game carry.
Yeah.
It was Bjergsen's Akali game against TL. I think was the biggest 1v9. The thing with 1v9 is it's not just I did great while my teammates were also popping off. Like even the Perks game would be my very close second, like game 5 or game 4 of the RNG
But he had
series.
Wonder.
But like Wonder was doing pretty well. Jankos was doing great in the jungle. It felt like that Akali game was like the 14 kill Akali.
Yep. So my individual game 1v9 award is Licorice against Detonation Focus Me in the play-in stage. Because you're saying 1v9. I actually have the match history, so I can pull that one up. His actual KDA is not that good, is the funny thing. Licorice only went 1, 4, and 15. He actually had less CS than
And that's the biggest 1v9 of the year?
And here's why. Here's why it's 1v9. And this is why it's 1v9. Because your team also has to be inting, so that you are against your team as well.
Yes.
And against the opponent.
Then who gets the kills?
I mean, people cleaned up, but like Licorice was clearly the best player on Summoner's Rift.
Okay.
There was a 5.7 thousand gold lead at 30 minutes. That is insurmountable for most teams ever, right? Like, that is obnoxiously good.
Oh, was this the Lysandra game?
Yeah, this is his Lysandra game where he's actually, his team is turbo inting.
Yep.
Japan has always been garbage at Worlds and MSI. This is the only time they
this
have
is what I like about having you on the
made
dive.
best
Is
of
like,
5.
You're not coming back next time, so you're just gonna like call people garbage.
He gets really riled up though, and
when people are bad.
You yell way more than Azale yells.
Yeah, and then you're just gone for 3 months, and people just like forget about the stuff you said.
But yeah, I mean, like, Japan has never made the best of 5 stage of any tournament that's not the LJL.
Okay.
They are not good.
Okay, take it down a notch.
Cloud9 is turbo inting to a 5.7k deficit at 30 minutes. And Licorice 1v9.
Okay.
All right.
Calm down.
Okay.
That was my choice.
That's your choice. Okay. Kobe.
Okay, so I did have the Bjergsen one. So that was one of the games. I did not have
the Licorice one.
Licorice one. So I apologize.
I don't think that counts. He had great team fights for sure, but
here's one for you. Here's one from NA. The other 3 I have. One is from NA. It's the Someday game. 100 Thieves. You remember his Jax game?
In the funnel game where he wasn't even funnel.
He was not the funnel, yet he was like, "You people, I am going to win this game." Like the rest of the team was just dying everywhere. They were literally at his nexus. He kills someone up top. He recalls back. He's the only member. He jumps in on Jax, kills like 3 people.
Yeah.
It's literally him alone at his Nexus.
That's fair.
I was like, God damn, that is a 1v9.
Yeah.
That's a good choice.
Is that what else you got?
So that's
a good one.
That was my top one. I also had the Bjergsen one.
Mm-hmm.
I also had so the other 2 were only dampened by they had good teammates that were going on. So I did have the Perks one. And we kind of talked about it in the GT
in my list
series.
too.
So I felt like that was good to talk about it in the series. But also the Shy, even though there were no 1v9 games from Invictus Gaming because the rest of the team was good, but the Shy's Jace game, he was the only one I was looking at. Because it was like, his team was not doing bad to justify a 1v9, but he was.
Yeah, that's the 1v5 award. Like, your team's holding up.
Yeah.
You are killing it.
Yeah, that was a 1v5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he had so many good games at Worlds because I was thinking the Fiora game in the base race.
Oh, yeah.
Where he almost, he was a hit. That could have been the game.
He is a 1v9 player.
Yeah.
But his team is too good for him to get a 1v9 award.
He's good enough 1v9, but he gets 1v5s.
So my vote was for Bjergsen. Kobe's vote is for Someday.
I'll keep with Licorice.
What? Just really quick, what were your other 3 without going into too much detail?
It was also Perks, and it was actually, this was not the individual game, but it was Uzi at MSI. Where I feel like he was just so much above.
Funneling before funnel. I feel like that's what he did.
Yeah. So he doesn't even have teammates that are giving him their gold.
All right, next one, we're going to be doing some Hindsight Awards.
Yeah.
So we don't have a great name for it. We're going to call them the 2020 Awards, and there's going to be 2 of them. It's the best idea that went wrong and the worst idea that went right. The idea is...
So this is if you put yourself in the time and the news comes out, you're like, okay, that could work. At least that could work, right? It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, that's a genius move. Yeah. But at least an idea that's plausible. And then hindsight, it turns out to be like, oh my God, how can we think that works, right? And it's a big disaster.
Yep.
Or the other way around. All right, Jack, what do you have for this one?
So I realized...
The positive one.
Like the one that went right.
Yeah.
That I think was a bad idea at the time.
I think we start out with the nice one.
I mean, it's both of these are kind of mean in because there's something bad in them.
That's true.
I know.
I actually realized that I wrote down the same one for both. So I accidentally did the worst idea that went right twice. So I'm just going to give them both to you.
Okay.
I still think that swapping out Jensen and Blabber in the midst of a 5-game win streak to put in Golden Glue and Sven Skjern against TL at the time was a bad idea. But it went super well because they made Pobel to 0-9.
Yeah. I have that one for the worst idea that went right. How is that the best idea that went wrong?
No, it's not. It's the worst idea that went right.
Yeah.
I got that. I got that twice.
He did it twice.
Yeah.
He did. The same
so you only
twice.
answered that.
Yeah, and I got another one. The Spring Split Echo Fox roster.
Oh man.
That went right.
Yeah.
Because when we looked at that roster, we were like, all right, they got Phoenix, they got Altec, they got Adrian. There's no way these guys make it work. And then they actually did. They made 3rd place and they qualified for Rift Rivals and all these cool things.
I don't know. Maybe you were I thought they definitely had a good chance of it. We can check the tapes on the dive for the beginning of the season.
You have them 6th or 7th in your power rankings.
And we explained it as they have the potential to do really well.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for this?
So I think for sure for me, this award definitely goes to the Cloud9. Benching Jensen, Sneaky, and Smoothie seemed crazy. Literally, the whole community was on fire.
You're saying just the beginning of the whole fiasco, not just the one game after they had the win streak.
I think Zazel coming in, all that stuff. Yeah.
I think
Cloud9 is the year.
Yeah,
right.
I think that is 100% has to be the winner for that one.
Right.
Yeah. And then the best idea that went wrong, as I said at the time, TSM trading Double Lift to Team Liquid. Are you kidding me? I was like, what are you doing, Reggie? You're gonna make this big risk on importing, shot callers that how can you even judge that? But you're giving up this guaranteed best AD carry in North America, proven year after year after year for domestic at least, to your #1 competitor.
Yep.
Yeah, and at the time, if
At the
if
time,
you go check the tapes to our spring split power ranking episode, like I wish Azale was here for this because he's the one who started with TSM, and he had like this rant of you're bringing in a 3-time European champion and you're adding him to the NA champions, and there's no way they don't finish first. Like it was something akin to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Azale, if that's inaccurate. You can check. Everyone can check the tapes.
But yeah,
That's not a direct
this was
quote.
the best in the West unanimously bot lane. Like,
Yeah.
I think everyone was on the page. Like, yes, Sven and Mithy are better than X. Like that was just true. And they crashed and burned.
Yeah.
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 What do
So
you
I think that's for sure the best idea that went wrong.
Mine is worlds based. So it is about Gen G. More of Gen G crashing and burning. Fly out, crown in, basically. So Gen G was tied for first place in match score in the LCK. They ended up getting fourth because of game score, but like with Fly, they were tied with KT, Rolster, and Kingzone and Griffin as like the best in Korea, and they played Crown for their Worlds qualifiers. Like it was about like him being motivated to play again, and they didn't even bring Fly with them to Worlds, who had done most of the heavy lifting to get there. Instead, they brought their two junglers, Ambition and Harus. They basically brought like their old Worlds roster, and Crown was bad. And Fly was arguably their best individual performer. He was the leader from Gen G of MVP points. He was only 4 games behind Khan, who was number 1 overall in the listings. Like, Fly is legit great, and they didn't bring him.
Well, hold on. Is this a bad idea that went bad?
So here's why. So here's why I thought it could have been a good idea at the time.
Okay,
Right? Because as it turns out, they really needed a better mid laner, and Crown could not hold up, and that was obvious. But Crown won Worlds. Like he played the regional qualifier gauntlet. Like he then beat Griffin and Kingzone and all these other teams to get there. So like he at least had like this 9-game track record of like, no, look, we can win with him. Okay, guess he's going. But they didn't keep like their star mid laner. The other one I want to pick up is I saw it at the time, but in retrospect it was bad, and it was Cloud9's Worlds roster. It was the fact that they brought both junglers and Jensen. And I understand why, because their starting roster was Jensen Blabber, and it was like, okay, well, who would fail? Who's more likely to fail, Jensen or Blabber? Well, Blabber's more likely to fail. He's a rookie. Okay, so Svenskern's the backup, and then sure enough, that switch happens. And then we see, okay, well, Svenskern and Jensen's obviously the starters. Okay, now who needs the backup? Actually, Jensen needs the backup. He doesn't really play assassins. Other than LeBlanc, he had like 2 Yasuo games in Academy, 1 Aurelia game, like all summer split plus Worlds, like no Akali games. Like in C9 versus Fnatic, they had to ban Akali, Aurelia, something else. Like they banned 3 mid laners against Caps every time and just picked Lissandra. Whereas Golden Glue, I thought was playing well, does play assassins, and maybe you give him a chance to fight Caps. Right? They did that in the summer finals where they got 3-0'd. They kept trying the other version of the roster to see if something could work. When you're C9 against Fnatic, you put in Golden Glue and see if he can handle Caps. The answer is probably no, but like you give yourself a different way of playing the game by trying to take the skill matchup. Because Golden Glue was playing well on an individual level, and in retrospect, he would have been good to have on the roster.
Yeah.
After hearing
I
your
can accept
guys' explanations, I really feel strongly about my
About yours. Okay.
That's fair.
Give us yours just real quick again.
The TSM trading double lift to Team Liquid
Was the best idea that
biggest
went
blunder
wrong.
in hindsight.
But it was
and
okay.
Cloud9 benching Jensen, Sneaky, and Smoothie seemed like a bad idea at the time, but it was the biggest golden egg.
I agree with Kobe.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the awards for us.
That's fair.
All right, let's move on to the KiWiKid Award. Jat, please explain the KiWiKid Award for people who have not followed the history of the North American LCS.
Yeah, KiWiKid doesn't know we've done this, by the way, so please let him know. And essentially, the KiWiKid Award, the memorial prize, really, is
That's great.
Prize.
In many ways.
I saw him that weekend in Vegas at All-Stars. He is alive and well,
Yeah, he's
for the
doing great.
record.
It's for having the most deaths, but still having a positive impact on the
Exactly.
game. Because
That's the key.
KiWiKid did this often. When he retired, he was either very close to or did have the most deaths in NA LCS history, but no one would really be like, man, he's awful. Like every once in a while, he would just carry the game.
Especially in promotion relegation games. He would have these big 4 or 5-man All-Star combos. And so he would have these like really big game-changing impact.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the key to the award, right?
So yeah, and now it's, okay, which player was the most like that this year? That's who we give the award to.
Sure.
Do you have your answer, Phreak?
I have
So my initial answer was really Troll. and it was
Okay.
Doublelift, because we always make fun of him for like dying in stupid places, but he's still really, really,
Yeah,
really.
but he didn't die
really
this
good.
year that much.
Right,
Right?
which is why it's a bad answer.
Okay.
So my better answer, that's not so troll, is Solo from Golden Guard. Not Golden Guard, sorry. Clutch Gaming. You said Golden Guard.
And now Echo Fox.
And now
but
Echo
Clutch
Fox.
in 2018.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Clutch in 2018. Because he never got any help at all, really, from the team. He's left on an island.
Okay.
Like, he got 1v3 dove a lot.
Yeah.
And was actually, I think, a really great top laner.
Mhm.
Like, he played a bunch of Gangplank games and would just like ult into bot lane ganks. He'd be like, yeah, I'm 0-2-2,
Yeah.
but like they would win the bunch.
Yeah. And KiWiKid was once a top laner. People forget
He
that.
was.
Top
Singed.
laner support, role swapper.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Kobe, go for it.
So I have Solo on my list. He was not my answer though. I actually had. I mean, after. Okay. I'll preface this with, I love contracts.
Mm-hmm.
He is in.
He had the most deaths.
He is
Yeah,
in
yeah,
my
yeah.
Discord group. I play games with him and his girlfriend all the time. I think he's a really good player.
Okay.
And that's why the second part of the award is very important.
Uh-huh.
Chad, because contracts actually had the most deaths for spring and summer
Whoa.
splits for the whole year, basically.
Okay.
He has the total of the most deaths.
Yeah.
I mean, Golden Guardians did place 10.
died a lot.
Both times.
Mm.
But I also, whenever I'm watching contracts, I feel like there's going to be a moment in the game where he makes this big play, right?
Mhm.
And there's some big game changing, he goes for very aggressive invades and, tries to get action going in. A lot of the games that they did win, even when they weren't winning very many games, was when he made, a lot of good early moves. However, he also had the tendency where
Mm-hmm.
he would make a lot of those mistakes that would result in deaths.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
my answer.
All right. My answer was Summer Split Afromu.
Okay.
You can't just section a split. This is our year
It is.
award.
I'm doing it.
A year in review
Afromu
award.
was the MVP of the spring split. He was much better in the spring.
It's a year-long
Uh-huh.
award.
That
Jack.
is
Means that he can't.
You can't break the rules.
Well, to be fair, it is of players who do very well. You should do all year.
Yeah.
He got an MVP while being so many deaths for all year.
You can still answer.
KiWiKid was not an
Afromu.
MVP player.
yeah.
Afromu
Okay.
was.
So what?
So like that
MVPs are precluded.
a little. I'll give my argument for Afromu, then I'll give you another more acceptable answer, perhaps.
Great. Much like my double
Yeah,
choice.
Afromu in the summer split, we forget how much he died and how many games he was like 0-7, 0-8. But
Yeah.
he was always the playmaker for that team, especially once Meteos was gone for Onda later on in the year, and still managed to like squeak in, winning the best of 5, getting 4th place in summer, and he was a big part of that. The other one would be Dardoch.
Yeah.
Because as many highlights as he had,
It's a similar to contracts.
yeah,
I
he
feel
had a
like.
lot of games where he died a lot. I mean, second most deaths in the summer split as well. So
The problem to me with that one is that literally every person that has ever met KiWiKid is like, this guy is so nice. I love KiWiKid. I want to go
So it
get some
can't
food
be
with
Dardoch.
KiWiKid. But there are a lot of people that have played with Dardoch that don't feel that way.
so
I'm not one of
Oh,
them.
you know
I
what?
like Dardoch's
Yeah,
been
that's
super
fair.
nice to me every time I've talked to him at
Sure.
parties. and
Very
anything.
true.
I like Dardoch.
Mhm.
But
you're saying
there are other people
Just
that
add
have
If you're
quality.
going to find a player most like KiWiKid, then you need like
yeah,
Gate.
in every
You need
way.
someone-
Yeah.
Like someone that everyone likes and plays multiple roles, like Gate.
Yeah,
I think that actually. Why isn't that your answer?
Big.
he
I
didn't die enough.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all
plays
inclusive,
out.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a tough one to give out. But shout out to KiWiKid.
Shout
So
out
all right, this one's tricky. It is, if everyone remembers, the Team Dignitas versus Renegades game from the NA LCS. It's where we had
so good.
multiple people executing to the bottom turret, which they later explained was just a faster recall. But
KiWiKid
then
was
we
on that
also
team, by
had-
the way. He was one of the ones that died to the turret,
Yep.
I believe.
Yeah.
The other
Yep.
one, though, who died to Rift Herald was Crumbs.
yeah,
Yeah, and then we also had 2 people die to Rift Herald, like right after. And
so bad.
that is now, we're naming the award for the worst professional game of League of Legends that we saw
Yeah,
in the year. What was that game?
I think that was 4 executes.
yeah.
Like within
like 30
within
seconds.
30 seconds, they all just.
It's abysmal.
And they had done so good right before that.
I
right?
know.
That's why it was so funny.
Yeah.
They had just like, oh my God, they got advantage top and bottom. And then you're like, wait, they're all dead. What happened?
Okay. I'm gonna start. It's an answer I've already given. Cloud9
Okay.
versus Detonation Focus Me. If it's not for Licorice,
Wait.
that
It's the 1v9 game?
yeah. Because everyone was bad.
That's already that's a different award.
You have a player performing amazingly in the worst professional game of League of Legends.
I mean, see, you're giving it the Dig vs Renegade Award. Like, what happened to the mid laners? They weren't turbo inching to turrets, but yet it was still a really bad game.
Okay, what's your answer, Jet?
You got to go first, Kobe.
Okay.
This one was actually hard for me because I was casting it? Maybe I remember it like I was casting it in the Dignitas Renegades game. Maybe I was watching it in the green room, but I remember it very clearly. And I was laughing so incredibly hard. I don't feel like any game this year honestly lived up to this award. So, I mean, I did have an answer. And it was one of the very few times where I turned into an EU LCS game that was not
nice. This is good.
That was not a Fnatic or G2 game.
Blame
Giants versus Rocket. I'm gonna guess.
It's close.
Is it Giants at least?
Giants were in it, but it was H2K.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Sorry, H2K is the worst.
It was I think it was in summer. It was the Giants H2K game, and there was at least like Betsy, I think, was the only one who was performing like decently.
Like Licorice.
But it was like, but it wasn't a 1v9 game.
I'm sorry.
It was like,
I'm trolling. I'm sorry.
You give him some credit. You're like, okay, you know, Betsy's cool, but like, what else is going on in this game? And even I remember, I think Vedius and Medic maybe were casting it. And they were like, after the game, they were like, well, you know, a lot to review after that game. Neither of them are gonna go home and, you know, be post that one on the wall or anything, but it's a victory in the bag. But honestly, I don't think any game this year actually lived up to Renegade's Dig Award.
Yeah. Oh my God. I tend to agree with you. I realized as I was answering my questions, I didn't copy paste this one over, which was why I was stalling, trying to think of the Dig vs Ren Award.
And you're still stalling.
I'm still stalling. So I apologize.
All right.
To you.
Me and Phreak.
Cloud9 Representation focus me.
Me and Phreak can move on to the next award.
No, I'm gonna find it later. I'm gonna post it on Twitter and Reddit thread.
What? You're not even gonna.
I gotta focus on the show.
All right, Jat. Right now, you're sitting at like a D for this episode.
No,
you broke the rules on the previous question, and now you don't have an answer for this one. It's thin ice here, buddy. I hope
Am I above Jat?
I hope you ace the rest of this test. Phreak, I mean,
you hated a lot of my
You
answers.
at least answered the question.
Yes, Dead Nation focused me as two of his answers. You can't just.
At least he put one. You should have. You should have written your name. You should have.
We're grading on a curve. That's
if you had said my solo queue game today, then I would have accepted that, and you'd probably be ahead of Phreak.
Wow! How dare you? Those were good answers. How dare you?
I mean, his solo queue game today probably could have been a good answer.
Probably could have used some work.
Worst. Oh, sorry. You're the host. Go ahead, Jat.
Doesn't matter. Next
Worst
award.
change to the game is the next award. I don't know what the award is named.
Yeah, well, we thought of a few. Maybe we can call it like the Art and Censor Award, since that was like clearly in 2017. Everyone didn't like the Art and Censor World.
I like Juggernaut Rework Award.
Rework Award.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Okay. Well, speaking of mid-season updates, the AD carry item update is my vote. I didn't mind the role changes, like health regen is down, whatever, and try to make mages go in, because like the end result of mages being in bot lane was awesome. That was great. Here I got to play Heimerdinger. Super, super, super cool. A lot of that was great. The item update itself is, I think, where I take a lot of pain, where the game is getting faster and faster, and they're like, cool, 80 carries are late game powerhouses. We're going to push that even farther late game and make your first two items suck.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've still gotten through all that yet. I think they're still in a state.
I 100% expected that answer from you.
Okay.
As an AD carry player, but I also, while I was looking for worst changes over the year, I happened upon a video that is Phreak yelling at his stream because Shaco got a buff of like 10 to 40 damage on his Q when they nerfed Duxblade. And you're just ranting. You're like, I hate Shaco. Shaco should never get buffs. What is up with this? They're over buffing Shaco. Why are they compensating it? And you were just like, this is the worst change Riot Games has made in a long time. And I was like, I'm going to use this clip because whatever his answer is, I don't think he's actually going to answer that. But you literally say this 10 to whatever 40 damage or something buff to Shaco in compensation for Duskblade is the worst change Riot Games has made.
I'm looking up this.
You get it. I got an answer for the
previous question.
Yeah, so I no longer have to go back for it.
All right.
the game between Clutch and CLG where Febby got the Azir Pentakill. That's the one.
And the one, he literally has an interview afterwards where he's like, I don't know, they inted into me.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't do anything special. They just kept like jumping at me and I killed them one at a time. Like,
That's
just that whole environment where Clutch was like, I guess we win.
I think even your late partial credit for that bumps you back up.
Yeah, thank you. Perfect. So is that actually your answer for worst change of the game?
My answer for worst change of the game is not for the Shaco buff for Phreak or whatever.
All right.
I did have the marksman items in there as well.
Yep.
I was trying to find a change that caused gold funneling to become a thing because that pissed me off the most. But I could not come up with what the change that was the impetus for that strategy. Can you think of it? Because I think that was just player ingenuity with a lot of things that have built up over time with support items getting buffed and support classes and different champions being, versatile and be able to operate on low income so that people could actually sacrifice that much on their team that they could have to support dedicated support players. I don't think there was a single, change. I could probably pinpoint the patch maybe where gold funnels started to become a thing.
Some of the big stuff was the fact that like the runaway experience in the jungle was removed. Like, that was a big one.
So
where if you had a certain level advantage, you weren't getting docked experience in jungle camps.
I think it was just a culmination of a lot of little ones, but that is the change that pissed me off the most was gold funneling because it also led to the Monster Hunter nerf, which punished junglers in its first iteration, punished junglers like me, where my team are feeding and I just want to try and get back into the game. So I go to my dead mid laners, wave at his turret. I'm trying to clean up his CS for him, and I'm getting 4 gold a pop.
Yep, feels bad.
All right.
Kobe, I looked up the Shaco patch note. I found it.
Yeah.
It is so Duskblade lost like half its damage on hit. Right? Otherwise the item's the same. Shaco gained 10 to 50 plus 0.7 bonus attack damage ratio on the Q. I remember doing the math at the time. If you bought a Duskblade, you still did more damage than before. Like after Duskblade nerf, it just did more damage anyway. Plus you can also Q without Duskblade or not buy the item. So it was just like an always in all cases direct buff to a champion who was already strong. And as like compensation
it might be your most hated champion.
Maybe. I'm more just like, you don't need to buff champions that are already good. Like if they did this to Lucian and there was like, we compensated a Black Cleaver nerf by giving him 300 bonus attack damage. Like, what are you doing?
And to back up your point, they later pulled back on that buff. They cut it to 40%. So you are at least it was a change that they also felt was bad. However, to make it the worst change, Riot Games has
Did I say that verbatim?
Yeah.
No.
You said in a long time.
Okay.
You said the worst change.
And a long time is a very ambiguous statement.
Exactly.
This was before the 80 carry item update, Kobe.
Okay. Mine is to the earlier parts of the year when the inspiration tree had super magical boots and a 6-minute stopwatch.
Ooh.
And you saw 10 stopwatches in every game.
That's pretty good.
And games went 40 minutes.
That was bad.
That was an incredibly boring time to watch League of Legends.
That's a good point.
I thought that some of the stopwatch plays were cool, but a lot of them were just stalling.
Yeah, you got it so early.
Yeah,
it stopped turret. Like you saw 10 stopwatches going off in a fight. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Do I win?
It's still close.
I don't think that you could convince me. I'm sure that you could convince other people. But the gold funneling one that led to Monster Hunter really pissed me off.
Gold funneling existing was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing that frustrated me the most about gold funneling actually was the fact that like the design team made it clear that they didn't like it, yet it was this pseudo optimal strategy in pro. So teams had this impossible like from a pro perspective, they had this impossible optimization of learn funneling. I will not be able to use this in playoffs, but I can use it to get wins now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's just, there was no clear road to like optimize. It's like, well, only optimize the things that we say you should optimize for. Like just the way they had to play catch up on that is obviously not something they want to do. And they did fix it as fast as they could, but it was a bad time.
Okay. Let's join a happier time here. What was the best change?
All right.
To the game this year?
Tracker's knife went away. By far. The drop in vision in pro play, I think was great for making the game funner to watch, cooler to like play, cooler to be a part of. I think it actually is part of the reason like Korea lost its stranglehold on playing the game because they were always the like slow macro vision type play.
Okay.
And I'm glad that that play style is no longer optimal, so that now aggression is the rewarded play, that we're at like the right state of vision to where you must take calculated risks to be a good team. I think it was like to be a single change that had the most impact in making pro better.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
There was a number of changes to vision this year,
Yeah.
right? Like Tracker's Knife went away. You could not straight up buy a sight stone. It was tied to support quests. I mean, that's part of why
so
funnel
no-
was
no
good.
second
So you
sight
get
stone.
two
I
sight
think
stones.
the
So
sight stone thing.
there's only one sight stone. But also, we always have this debate about like darker map versus lighter map.
Yeah.
And do you think just with the changes of you can now only have 2 controllers instead of 3, and yellow trinkets have gone from 180 seconds max to 120 seconds max, which means
Right.
more people are going to have blue trinkets and red trinkets. Like, were we at a balance and we are now too dark?
Potentially.
Like, where do you think that line is?
I'm not sure. I think certainly 12 months ago we were on the far like right side of the bell curve of too
Yeah.
much vision. The game is on a lower state.
Especially with Zombie Ward. That
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, absolutely.
hated it.
Absolutely, totally agree with you. Yeah, we might have gone too far, right? It might be going back down the curve in the y-axis being game quality.
Yeah.
On the darker side of it now, that's really possible. I'm not sure. I was happy with how those worlds went.
Yeah.
I was surprised seeing the trinket nerf. Like I just saw it and like we're at 2 control words and trinkets are like 20% worse.
Yeah.
Huh? That's a change. I don't know. Maybe it ends up even being better next year, but like I could see that being reverted easily.
Okay, my change that I like the most, even though it wasn't super clean in the way that it manifested because Banner of Command existed,
Ooh.
but I liked the 8.4 changes to giving Baron ability power on the buff, making it so the cannon minions were bug fixed and actually did the proper amount of damage to turrets, and that was also the patch where Elder 2 became mega broken. Because it prevented games from going over 60 minutes, which, while they can be fun, were way too frequent. Like, finding a fair sense of finality in games is difficult.
Yeah.
And I feel like this was the change that really put League on that path.
It's really good.
Yeah, you saying that makes me a little bit nostalgic for our 80 minutes,
80 minutes to dream. You and Rip, I think.
game.
Yeah.
But I do only want one of those maybe every year
Every
or
half
2.
decade.
One or 2. Like
I'm
but
with like 1 a year per league,
for
right?
something to be that crazy, it also has to be really unique.
Yeah.
So the thing you're talking about, how the frequency. So like if that does something like that does happen now, it would be even more like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like what is going on? So I kind of like that. I honestly, I had a very big sweeping change for this answer, and I had like some small ones. I came up with the small ones first, and then I remembered that we did Runes Reforged. I actually, if I count Rune Reforged now with stat shards separated, I think that is just a completely positive change. You don't have to buy all these little runes. You don't have to have all these rune pages set up for different champions. I would literally on my Smurf be barred from playing some champions or know that I'm playing them suboptimally because I only have a couple rune pages that aren't perfect for them.
True.
Which really felt bad. But the Runes Reforged, just the simplicity of being able to be like boom, 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 ready to go.
Yeah.
On whatever I feel like is strongest for this champion. I honestly think that that might be the best change. I had smaller ones when I was first coming up with ideas. How do you feel about Red Sweeper not having a little baby garbage tier?
That's a great feel good. That's a great feel.
Huge. Yeah. To me, I was like,
Yeah.
I would never want to buy the first, like, you only sweep this small spot, it doesn't move or whatever thing as a jungler. So then I would also forget to buy it immediately or whatever whenever I
At
hit
9,
9. So I thought that was super good, but then I was like, it's a little bit small.
That's really good.
The other one, Monster Health over the dragon and monsters and stuff like that.
Didn't used to be in World. You're right.
Just like nice little quality of life stuff.
Helped a lot
Good call out.
with
Yeah, those are
smiting.
great. I forgot about the Runes Reforged one. Like, I like the system, but I've played enough that both my main and my Smurf have all champions and 20 rune pages, so I just like forgot like that mattered.
You entitled league.
And
I'm
he only
sorry
plays-
for playing that much that I have 2 fully unlocked free-to-play accounts.
Yeah.
And he
From
only
my own
plays
gameplay.
marksman, so he only needs like 2 rune.
No, I
pages
play
anyway.
normals all the time. I use 20 rune pages.
I
How
like
dare you?
I like Runes Reforged for the reason of playing alternate modes. Because even with 20 rune pages in the past, if you had a large suite of champions that you played in solo queue, but also in ARAM or now in Nexus splits, like you want to bring completely different things.
Where's
So
all my Dark Harvest rune pages?
the fact that I literally don't even save rune pages anymore and just move through
you
and
do.
like Presence of Mind, Ultimate Hunter.
I win again.
Kobe's really good at this. Although, so I will jump in.
That's
and
an
say,
outside of the game
yeah,
change. It's
this
against
is-
the rules.
This is also, I feel like, an esports focused show.
Yeah.
And so I
Okay.
feel like
Well, let's
vision
move on to
removal
the
is
next
better
award.
for esports.
Shall we
than
move
Runes
on to the next award,
Yes.
fellas?
Yes.
Great. Okay, I win though.
All right. Don't try this at home. So it refers to the esports moment that is probably better left to the professionals and just like don't even bother trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that's way better on pro play and you
Yeah.
don't want to see in your solo queue game.
Specificity is better
Yeah.
for this award.
All right, you go first this time.
Wadid's Tom Kench. Don't try this at
So
home.
is your answer Tom Kench play in general or
Yeah.
something Wadid did specifically?
Well, I'm specifically saying like Tom Kench is great for Wadid,
Yeah.
but not for like anyone else. He
Yeah.
requires so much coordination, especially the double eat, which happens from eating someone, moving away, and channeling your ult so they can jump in again. Ain't no one gonna do that in solo queue. Like that is so many levels of communication that you're just gonna be a fairly useless champion. Sorry, I hit the mic. And you should probably just leave it to
Even in pro play, I love you, Ole, but there were multiple times where he ate a minion next to double lift as Tom Kench.
Play this in the LCS, Ole.
So even
Good
in
luck,
pro play,
definitely.
sometimes you're like, oh, don't try this at home. Don't try this on stage, maybe.
I also had Tom Kench written down. The other ones I had written for somewhat similar reasons are both Akali and Aurelia. Or these are champions that, similar to Tom Kench,
he's got
are
a good
not
reason.
successful champions. Like, they are so hard to play that they are not
You're
good
playing in too low elo.
in the vast majority of cases.
That's what
no,
I feel
it's
like.
not even about me personally, right? Like, you're coming at me as a guy who, like,
the win rates,
quote unquote, hates Shaco.
the win rates for those champions are very low
Right.
in solo queue.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you want to climb and you're not literally Bjergsen or Caps, don't play these champions. You're going to lose.
I mean,
don't.
So in Plat Plus, which does include a lot of gold games, because as long
Gold
as a
one,
Plat
Plat
player
five.
is in the game, it counts for the Plat Plus stats on Analytics. Akali's what, like 44%?
Yeah.
Azir's like 42%. Rise
Right.
is probably similar.
Yeah. And people know not to pick Azir and Rise, but they're still picking Akali and you're like, no, they're really fun.
I mean, so to be fair, my answer is Rise,
okay.
but
yeah, we all doing the same stuff.
but it's not just because the low win rate and people don't use it that well, but like the realm warps. My moment was like the big realm warps where they have them going into Steel Baron or they're getting out of Baron, and then there's crazy rotations. You literally only see that in pro play every single time.
Yeah.
It's like you gave the only like Rise. He's trying to like he's getting ganked or whatever. He puts on his realm warp and like in pro play, you see him like dodge around out of it, flash back in or something, and get away from the CC. Every time in your game, the guy just gets nailed in the head and stunned or something. Like your whole team takes it accidentally into the Baron. You die. The other team gets Baron and wins, something like that.
Speaking of don't play this on stage, other good Tom Kench was Mithy. Had a lot of turbo int Tom Kench ults as well on TSM this year.
Yeah. Even at that level, you gotta be. Just don't try it at home. Yeah.
What we got next?
We all had the same kind of answer, roughly.
Yeah.
Worst prediction, aka
The COG award.
the Shut Up Dad Award, is what our writer.
Our writer also said the Spawn Trophy, which is a throwback to like 2015. When he predicted LPL for every game.
I like the Shut Up Jat because that started as Reaper typing in chat.
Yeah.
But what was it during? What
So
had you?
I specifically called out like why in the world are you subbing out Jensen and Blabber during a win streak? And then he was like, shut up, Jet. And then they smashed. So it was perfect. But that's not even my worst prediction.
Yeah,
I got a better one. Mine was in the spring split power rankings of the dive. I thought the reign over Darshan Huhi CLG could win the most regular season games of NA LCS teams, and they did not.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, but to my defense,
close to the office.
Everyone else said TSM was going to be the best, and they weren't either.
I had Liquid at number 1. Just saying.
Yeah, you weren't on the show.
I know.
That doesn't count.
That's true.
I did have that one. I also had one.
Well, it's not, you don't get to say the worst prediction of other people. This is, I think, your worst prediction.
Oh, great. That's
what?
easy.
No, it's the worst prediction of the year.
I think it's the worst prediction.
That's how I did it.
So for what it's worth, still actually, I would argue that's a front runner. In fact, I will take your choice over my choice because my choice was Korea will win Worlds this year.
Okay.
I tweeted
funny.
for a month straight.
It's a good prediction, though.
The idea being, let's go into April Fool's Day NA will win Worlds this year. XD Korea got top 8 and that was it.
Okay.
So that was pretty bad.
I would like you to try and rack your brain for your individual worst prediction.
Well, let me give my one. Azale's not here, but the other option I had was the one where he lost the Cloud9 hat bet.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had the prediction that Cloud9, when they were making their changes.
wouldn't even make playoffs.
Yeah, wouldn't even make playoffs. They ended up going further.
Semifinals of Worlds. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Nice.
The other one that I had as a secondary was Frosk saying that IG were going to suck. That we were talking like during play-in stage, like everyone's here in the office, we're talking about stuff, and she's like, "No, because I'm like IG went like they smashed LPL both regular seasons. They lost 2 total matches across both regular seasons. Like this team is insane. Like they're a top 4 team at World." And she's like, "No, they choke in every best of 5. They're never gonna do anything. The players don't have the like they will just completely suck." And I was like, I just don't know.
Yeah,
I just don't
she a
see
hard flame though.
I
She
do
was
wonder
really
how much of
against
that was a self-defense mechanism
It is.
because she like really likes IG, and we do. I do this with NA teams a lot. Be like, they got no chance, and then it's like, but please,
Yeah.
In the back
They have
of
no
your head,
chance, but please. Like my pick
Yeah.
on SC9 in the finals. Like I thought they had a chance to beat Fnatic. I didn't think they were likely to.
Yeah.
And I saw them losing to KT in the final, but I was like, I'd like to believe.
Okay, what about your individual worst predictions? Can you think of them?
I know that
What do
I've
you
had
regret?
bad ones, but I'll have to think about that because that's a different question. These are
Okay.
year awards.
All right, we
Yeah,
interpreted
you had some of the.
we interpreted the question a little differently. That's all I'm going to say.
What about your best prediction then?
All right. Once again, these are individual choices. This isn't like someone else doing the predictions. So I had 2. I would like to say that it was nice that I won the prediction pineapple 2 splits in a row in the NALCS.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I had the best overall game-to-game predictions.
Over Mark
Versus
and
Mark.
a coin.
Yeah. And
Or whatever.
I beat almost
But
all of
that's
the
literally
unanimous-
only over Mark. We
Yeah.
didn't get to do our predictions the
That's
whole
true.
year, you know.
All right.
However, EU did their like larger prediction game where everyone in the broadcast would do it and they track it over time. And this is going to be fun to track next year, actually. The stats team over in Europe basically made a model to predict
a statistical model.
a statistical model for like team with better record over the last 7 games, vote them. If it's tied, side select, break it. And we ran this model. And even though at a time in the summer split where me and Mark were like 50-50 in predictions and EU was like 70-30, based on predictability, we were still doing better than EU in our own
You were
predictions.
beating the model and most of them weren't.
Yeah.
Because the game, basically what the model proved is the games in Europe, the favorites won so often. Whereas in NA, the favorites were like
The favorites actually had a negative win rate for most of the split. That's how crazy the summer split was. And then the next one was IG 3-0 over G2, which I predicted on the desk, and IG 3-1 over Fnatic in the finals, even though it was a 3-0. The reason I liked those predictions was I did feel leading up to the World Championship, I read so much stuff online of like so many of the Western personalities were just saying, you know, it's going to be a really close series, like super back and forth, but I think Fnatic can take it 3-2. Because I do feel like there was this positive feedback loop with the community, like, yeah, this guy says Fnatic, this guy says Fnatic. So it was so easy to pick Fnatic. And if you pick IG and you were wrong, we know how that goes when you predict against Fnatic and then Fnatic wins. You just get flamed into oblivion. I'm just happy that I predicted the most IG on the desk and then had IG win.
Yeah, I called Fnatic the best team in the West on cast, and I still got called NA biased by Reddit. Like, it's like,
I mean, something that you can still be that.
Yeah, I know.
One comment,
I mean, like,
something
look,
else.
yes, internally as a person, of course, I wanted C9 to win, but like as a caster, I try really hard to not have that come out. Like, and maybe I'm doing a bad job of that. Whatever. That's
definitely getting sidetracked.
We're gonna move on.
Yeah. All right.
But to your point on that, either way,
Prediction.
my prediction was similar to yours that LPL was finally not going to disappoint at Worlds this time. Because so many years before,
When did you say that?
I had a bunch of interviews. Like Inven came over when we were doing like the draw show and whatnot. And I was like, I think this year finally LPL can actually do it. Because the last time I had a really good like hope for LPL was 2015 when EDG won MSI and LGD was garbage. I was like, LGD smashed LPL and EDG won MSI. Okay, LPL's good. LGD, let's all ride that horse. And they didn't get out of groups. And I was like, okay, but this time I believe it, right? It's still the year of the LPL. They won Rift Rivals, they won MSI, like just like they hit them before. This time I believe once again, let's go. And okay, my vote was RNG, but I still had IG as top 4. Like I still had KT and Pick'ems going over IG, but LPL did well.
Yeah, Kobe.
I had 2 separate predictions that revolved around TSM, and they both ended up being true. At the beginning of the year, when we had our episode about Reggie making the change with Double Lift and bringing in the imports, I did think that the Mithy shot calling was going to be a big positive, but I also said that Team Liquid will beat TSM with Double Lift and take the championship. So that ended up being true. And then in summer, and this was a little bit of like, I'm just going to take a risk or whatever. But there was a moment where you guys forced me to make a hard prediction on saying TSM will not make playoffs.
Oh, wow.
In summer when they were actually doing well. And I was like, I mean, you kind of forced me into it, so I'm not going to take full credit or whatever. But I was like, okay, TSM are not going to make playoffs. And then we almost even made the title of the episode something like that. And I was like, okay, that's kind of inflammatory. Can you like not make the title that? And then it happened.
Well, they did make playoffs
in
summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in spring.
Well, good thing that was on my answer then.
All right, I got a question for you. Somehow you interpreted best prediction as personal best prediction and worst prediction as worst prediction of all.
It just happened to be that mine was the best prediction.
You think that's the best prediction of the year by anyone?
Yeah.
That TL was better than TSM? Seriously?
That they would beat TSM with Double.
Of course they will. That's okay. Whatever.
Obviously, the person who was like closest to getting Pick'ems right was the best prediction, even though 0 people got all Pick'ems right.
Yeah.
One like broadcast moment that I feel like was best was actually the day of MSI where Frost like ran the table. I forget exactly what she did, but it was like Liquid will beat RNG, but then RNG will beat the undefeated at the time Flash Wolves, and just like got both of them.
Yeah.
I
remember that. That was actually pretty nuts.
I'm going to come back to what your individual worst prediction was eventually.
I'm trying to remember.
That'll be for next year's.
I'm trying to remember what the TSM prediction actually was then.
I think it was TSM will.
Because I remember someone tweeting me afterwards that was like, "Oh my god, like you predicted this on the dive or whatever," and I can't remember what it was now.
Good thing we have like devoted listeners that are immediately going to tell you.
Yeah, maybe someone will tweet it.
Check the tapes. We will definitely appreciate that. That is pretty much it for the Year in Review awards. Yeah, that was a good year.
It was a good year.
Yeah,
it was a good year.
It was really fun.
It was really fun.
I enjoyed 2018.
Yeah.
I hope the game is similar to this year, right? Like, okay, we had some funnel issues. Like there were misgivings, but like the last half of the year was really great to watch from an esports perspective.
Yeah.
I would like more of that, please.
Yeah. So we can talk quickly about the 2019 state of the game because that is the next portion of our episode. We have now played on the preseason patch for about a month. There's some positive things that I think are happening. Like the design team, I think, won with the World's meta. It was pretty widely accepted as one of the best World's metas ever.
Yep.
And I think what they've done in preseason is they're just looking to build on that. Like all the changes are just seeing how far they can go in those directions. Like we mentioned the map being darker.
Yeah.
They moved it even darker. They're seeing that that's enough. I think the bounty changes in 2018, while not necessarily well publicized, giving more golds to individuals and less team gold snowball were also largely positive. So they're pushing further along that axis, right? And I actually think the team is getting pretty experienced to the point where they're just trying to like optimize towards a better state of league, where sometimes in the past it feels like they were just mixing stuff up for the sake of it.
Sure.
It does feel like we're being a little bit more intentional. So early impressions of me, even though I think bounties are a little crazy in 2019, and there's definitely, the rune bounce of Dark Harvest was bad at first, I think the goals have been going in good direction.
Yeah. I mean, and you guys are being super, super positive and talking about it being widely accepted as the best worlds meta and to watch for sure. However, there have been a lot of criticisms as far as, average play for players at home and stuff. And I know there was a lot of stuff like Double Lift and Skara put out videos as well during the year. So
rate of change.
Yeah, so there's definitely been like an up and down and a process to it. But the bounce team and the what's the other team called for like
there's a lot of
game systems teams
there's systems
are paying very close attention to these and to that feedback. And I do think that it is, helping as far as honing in on the very fine line and balancing the needle of too much change, not enough change, what things are fun, what's good for viewers, what's good for playing, and trying to actually intake all of that and put out a good product. So
I agree.
It's a complicated issue.
I agree a lot. What's cool is I think because we're kind of going forward a little bit with this as well. I agree rate of change was kind of bad, and I agree that like the high lethality, everyone's getting one shot a lot, does feel bad as well. It feels like one of the smaller projects they're doing right now is reshaping tanks slightly. I think some of these changes are on PvE, where it's like, hey, well, Zach and Sejuani are balanced for pro at 45% win rate in solo queue, and they only play tank junglers at 45% win rate. Can we get these champions to like be playable in solo queue so that you have more tanks in solo queue, which like helps AD carries feel good, lowers lethality because there's not a Kha'Zix running around, so Sejuani. Also, she can tank the Kha'Zix on the enemy team. Like getting tanks into a good spot in solo queue while keeping them like relevant in pro as opposed to being broken one or the other. Yeah. And like Sejuani's example of him trying that, and there's like one or two others where like, hey, that would be great. Like that's I think like the next sort of like champion class balance pillar to move forward. And the changes on PvE look pretty good. It's like Sejuani still has her ult. She's still really tanky, but she can't face check a brush with 7,000 armor anymore, which is like pro only. And like that's kind of stuff.
I want to see, as a tank player, I want to see tanks be better.
Yeah.
And even though I don't play AD carry and I suck at it, I recognize that those guys have actually they've had a pretty bad year. Sure. They had a nice little moment around MSI.
Isa was broken as hell.
Where all the best AD carries were the best teams.
Lucian has had some really strong moments.
Yeah.
Like some specific AD carries. Obviously, Kaisa was insane for a super long time.
Super broken. Yeah.
Jhin, Lucian, those types of ones.
And I personally don't think AD carries are weak. The sort of term that's being thrown around is like low agency, where it's like you're sharing your lane, and supports have a lot of like they have a lot of what's to say about that. And like if game pacing is too fast, you don't get to your item spec you care about. Yeah. One of the goals of the preseason update was to say, hey, laning phase ends at 1 item. And the game ends at 3 items. So that you should feel like you got to go through your power growth. And if we get to late game, then sure, you get to 6. Right, but like that's the stretch goal, and I don't think AD carries are feeling good at 1 or 2.5 items when most games are ending, and that is an issue, right? Like the game being fun for a role is certainly important.
All right, really quickly, I have something I want to talk about, so I'm going to make a topic up for it.
Sweet.
The thing that you can play to win right now that I don't think that many people know about, if you have one, like what have you been doing to win League of Legends games? Like last episode,
we've done that before. We've done that as a topic. We had a good name for it. What was it?
What? We have a name for it?
We had a name for it. Yeah, Sleeper OP. It was something along the lines of Sleeper OP.
I don't know how Sleeper it is, but Cassiopeia with Q max into W max while leaving your E at one point and basically going like Luden's Leandries is super strong. Like literally just a max rank miasma is something like an 80% slow on a relatively low cooldown, and just throwing it on someone from 900 units away takes a third of their health because of the Leandry's burn. It is super good since everyone had been doing Emax Cassio. You get away from that. You play from a longer range. Try it. It is super good. I've been playing a little bit of it lately. Do you guys have one?
I think Jax is maybe it's not sleeper, but I think he's too strong. He's way too strong right now.
In jungle or in top?
In jungle and top, but he has a slightly higher win rate in jungle even.
What do you do in the jungle?
It's nothing fancy. You do farm, you scale, you get your Trinity Force.
Yeah, but are you Conqueror? Are you Devourer or Cinderhulk? Like,
no, you press the attack. 100%. Always press the attack. And it's not like there's any super big changes to him or anything. But he's just been dominating super hard. And I was trying to figure out and pinpoint exactly why now. And I wasn't quite sure because it doesn't feel like obviously the higher, like in challenger games and stuff, they end really quickly and they're super snowbally. So maybe the scaling not as much of an issue, but I thought maybe something to do with bounties, being individual and, having a possibility of a Jax on the enemy team cashing in on like 1,000 gold or something at one point. If a champion like that gets a big chunk of change, and now he's got Trinity Force or something early in the game, or now something like that, and he's instantly scaled or something, had something to do with it. But I wasn't quite sure if it was something to do with how gold is moving around or what. But it definitely seems more annoying than in the past. And I'm not exactly sure because there haven't been direct changes to him.
Right. I want to really quickly, before I let you go, Phreak, for Cassio, you take Comet.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons it's so good is your miasma is super long range. That'll guarantee the Comet hit if you lead with that. And they're also slowed enough so you can land your Q. So instead of just like walking up to them and trying to Q into like a bunch of E's, it's literally W, Q, they're slowed, you have move speed, then you can run them down with E, which has level scaling.
I feel like they might do some tweak on it because Cassiopeia not relying on Twin Fang, which is like her iconic move.
Coming.
Yeah, okay.
Get your games in quick.
24B. Yeah, in
that preseason elo.
In about 5 days. Yeah, and you'll place an iron anyway. But yeah, in about 5 days, Cassie's getting nerfed. So that's
Phreak already throwing around the iron flame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's already
toxic marksman.
Well, no, like a new account's getting placed in iron, even Smurfs and whatnot. So like, there's bugs. You're just getting placed in iron no matter what. Yeah. I don't have a good thing to win with. I did not do well trying to climb the end of the season.
Phreak just doesn't win.
I legitimately don't win. I don't have a good go-to right now. I don't think marksmen are as bad as people like to say on the internet. So like,
want to give me I'll give you my suggestions and tell them if they would work for you.
All right, let's go. I
always will pick either Jhin because it's not as much about getting off a shit ton of auto attacks, which is, I much more prefer bursty playstyles, so that makes sense. But then also Lucian, which is a lot about those types of combos.
I spammed a lot of Lucian games. I know he's strong, and like for a while he was my most played for a couple of seasons, and I just like wasn't converting wins on him. So I went to Sivir, who's like more like normally my play style, because I usually play crit, and I was feeling okay about that. But I just feel like I wasn't doing a good job of carrying.
Well,
I was, like, playing badly.
Were you using the Western skin or whatever the new one's called?
High Noon.
High Noon Lucian.
Because I feel like that one just makes you feel like you're in the Matrix or something. Ooh. He's always spinning his guns and his cape is moving.
I don't think I had that skin.
It makes it look like you're way better than you are because the skin is moving.
Yeah. So I do have the gemstone only Vayne skin. And like maybe I should have been playing that, or I have the Kog'Maw one as well. So like that might have been the better choice.
Okay.
All right, that's not helpful.
Well,
I do win a lot with Misfortune.
I actually really wanted to end it on a competitive look at 2019.
Yeah.
Because we did have 2018, LPL. They dominated everything. It was a year of LPL, blah, blah, blah. What's your tagline for 2019? Because my tagline is going to be Return of the King. Korea's coming back to claim that crown. And Faker is going to smash. SKT right now, just the roster they put together, it's the beginning. It's preseason in 2019. And I'm like, God damn, I want to see Faker in the finals with this SKT. I'm pretty sure they're going to smash whoever they face.
So is this like, what are you calling it right now? Or is it, what do you think the year will have ended up being? Like, are you making a prediction in terms of like, people are going to call 2019 the year? Like,
when we're doing this show next year, what would you call, what would your 2019 phrase be?
Okay. Cause if it was just like, hey, my like blank thought is like next year is going to be the year of the Eastern rivalry. It's like, can LCK beat up LPL? And we'll see at Worlds and MSI and whatnot. Like, that's what it is coming in. Coming out, what I think it would have been, is the return to normalcy. I think it is going to be like, well, Korea won everything again. That's what the year was. Cool that 2018 was LPL winning, but we're back to this one. But coming in, it's just like every match is going to matter internationally, and you're just like, can they do it? Like, can you represent? Can they replicate the success? Can NA replicate success? Like, I have high hopes for Liquid, but like they're not going to be like, we name the year after Team Liquid, like we name it after the LPL.
Yeah, I'm not going to predict an NA championship
Yeah,
quite yet. Quite
As
yet.
soon as we said that, I was like, wait a
what if
second.
Liquid wins World?
We could pull
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
off. I want to name it, the year of Liquid and
Yeah.
finals.
Yeah, let's go.
I think that the LPL will continue to be really strong. I do think that the three teams, even EDG had a close series against Fnatic in the quarters, and JDG was also a really good team, right? There are going to be a lot of really good LPL teams. Like their farm system is amazing. They've done such a good job of funneling talent. Their orgs actually feel like super organized now. I think they will continue to progress and move towards dominance. But Korea isn't done yet. There has been a concentration of talent, I think, in the LCK to make another run at it. And the fundamental way they play the game, I think, will actually change based on the results, which is why I don't have a great take, but it's like
aggressive LCK.
It's like top heavy LCK with Griffin and SKT versus like just a powerhouse in the LPL.
Yeah, one thing I would say is this year had a very big philosophical impact on all the regions, right?
And that'll change the way NA and EU play as well.
For NA, I heard a lot about a lot of the different owners seeing the success of Cloud9 actually going far, and how much support they got gave them more confidence of like, oh my God, we can actually do it, right? Like we can actually have an impact in international play
at Worlds. Like that doesn't happen.
And talking to Cloud Templar, he was like, this has to be a wake-up call for LCK teams, no more late, like you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to blah, blah, like, I just feel like this year is going to be remembered for so many things, and EU getting to the finals. Like every region had a really big takeaway from this year. I think 2018 will be remembered for a long time.
Brox tweeted out this morning, he's like, getting to the finals, like I'm even hungrier now. Like, I'm going to work even harder because, like, I was that close. Like, we could have won Worlds. This is a team we had beaten before.
What if our look-back tag is, like, something like a year of EU mids because they have perks and caps, and then they get 2 more EU mids, and G2 just becomes a 5 mid-lane player team.
Perfect.
3 more of them.
I'm down. I'm excited for that. Let's do that.
On that note, that's going to do it for the dive in 2018. I got to send a big thank you out to all the fans and listeners that tune in on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, any of the places you can find our podcast.
How do we get that Spotify to approve us?
It's going to happen.
Because they've held out for a long time.
I'm going to make it happen, Kobe.
But we need to get...
I'm not going to. Someone will make it happen. I swear. That's one of the goals for 2019 is to be in as many places as the dive can be.
We've been peppering
the dive
them
lol.
with requests.
Happy holidays.
Send us tweets. You can use hashtag the dive LOL. Hit us up on Instagram. We have a lot of topics that I think are good for discussion. I'm going to try and be active in the Reddit threads and on Twitter and stuff with this episode because I feel like we had some bad answers.
Me especially.
Yeah. All right.
I got played a lot.
And also call Phreak out for all of this, all the dumb stuff. That's why he's here.
That's why I'm here.
That's his role on the show. Anyway, we're going to take a break for the off season. We will be back in 2019 for the return of competitive League of Legends and the NA LCS. We will see you then.
Time to record this or that.
Boom.